Okay, these are going to be the notes for fallacies and living in the media age. This is going to be different. I told you B1 was different, not so mathy. There's not a single bit of math in this lesson, but I hope you enjoy it. So let me know what you think after this is over. So the importance of reasoning in the media age. I don't think we can deny that we definitely are living in the media age. We are constantly bombarded with information from the media. Number 2, our opinions are often based on this information, whether it's true or not. Sometimes it just feels like if we read it on the internet that it must be true, and we have to be very careful. And then more often than not, the information we receive is designed less to inform us than to convince us of something that may or may not be true, which means the information can be biased, a word we learned yesterday. So in this lesson, I hope that it helps you to look at information with a skeptical eye and not just take everything at face value. And that's not to say we just assume that everybody is lying to us constantly, but just make sure that we have our eyes open and we know what the point is, I guess. We need to be critical readers, critical listeners, and critical thinkers. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So it's important that we be equipped with an understanding of the ways in which people try to manipulate our views. This lesson is designed to help you better navigate the media intelligently and to provide a foundation for critical thinking and quantitative reasoning. So we're going to start off with talking about a logical argument. Logic is a study of the methods and principles of reasoning. An argument is a set of facts or assumptions called premises or premises. And these premises support a conclusion. Sometimes it can be hard to know what is the premise and what is the conclusion. So we just need to make sure that we are remembering that the premises are the facts or the assumptions that are being made, and it should be able to support the conclusion, the what should we do about it kind of a question. And then we know if we have gotten the premise and the conclusion correct because we can read. So once we've answered premise and conclusion, we can test by reading the conclusion and then the word because, and then read the premise that we've written down. So let's look at this first example, see if we can figure out what's the premise and what's the conclusion, and then we will test it. All right, so considering that there have been 7 accidents at that intersection this year, it's time to install a stoplight at the intersection. So what are the facts or assumptions? Well, it sounds like the fact is there's been 7 accidents at the intersection. So that's our premise. There have been 7 accidents at the intersection this year. The conclusion, what are we going to do about it? It's time to install a stoplight. So when we're figuring out the premise and the conclusion, we're actually breaking the sentence apart. We're taking part of the sentence as the fact or assumption, and then the part of the sentence that's the conclusion. So you can just use the words that are in the sentence. And then let's test it. Let's see if it makes sense using our test here. So I'm going to start with the conclusion. It's time to install a stoplight because there have been 7 accidents at the intersection this year. That flows really nicely, so it sounds like we have it correct. Let's look at example 2. The people of Guam and Puerto Rico should be able to vote in American elections because they are citizens of the United States. Oh, look at there. There's the word that I said to use in your test. So if that is the word in our test, how should we be looking at this? It says test by reading conclusion because the premise. So what comes after the word because should be our premise. So they are citizens of the United States. Well, that is a fact. So that is the premise. They are citizens of the United States. Okay, so what's the conclusion? What are we going to do about that? The people of Guam and Puerto Rico should be able to vote in American elections. So that is the conclusion. All right, so just like that, we have separated the premise from the conclusion. So the rest of this lesson has to do with fallacies. A fallacy is a deceptive, misleading, or unsound argument, one in which the conclusion is not well supported by the premise. Okay, a few comments about fallacies. Fallacies are extremely common in the media. Fallacies often sound very persuasive despite their logical errors. And in analyzing fallacies, we will improve our critical thinking skills. So, in the next video, you are going to hear a woman that has put together some fallacies and talks about their definition and their examples. I went ahead and filled out the table for you, but I think it still would be good to listen to her because hearing it and reading it, seeing the video, it may all sink in a little bit better. But you already have this part of the notes filled out because I know that space is not big enough to write everything down. So I helped you out a little bit there. But this is probably the hardest part, and a lot of these are going to feel like they're similar to each other, and that is definitely true. So read through those, watch this video link, and that's going to take care of the first 10, and then you're going to get down in the last 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, from hasty generalization on, those will not be on the video. So those 4, you do need to just read, look at the example, see if that makes sense. And then once you're done with that video, I will pick up with another video to end out the rest of the notes and the activity at the end.